My name is Flic, and it's my absolute pleasure to be joining you today for this Ignite presentation on gut health for Women's Health Week. Now, before I kick things off, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm doing this presentation today from Aboriginal land. I'd like to acknowledge the rightful owners and custodians of the land, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders both past and present, of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander descent, and acknowledge that there may be people watching this presentation today that are Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. Now let's talk about gut health. Now, I'm very passionate about this subject, and I could honestly talk about it for hours, but I won't. I'll keep it brief and short for you today. The reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I actually deal with an inflammatory bowel disease called Crohn's disease. So I know firsthand the profound impact that appropriate gut health can have on the quality of your life. Now, whether or not you have got an inflammatory bowel disease really doesn't matter when it comes to gut health, because we are all affected by gut health in some way, shape or form. And in fact, women are very heavily affected by gut health because of the role of hormones and how they play into what is happening or produced by different aspects of the function of the gut. I'm not going to dig into every single aspect of the science of it today, but I'm going to be giving you a few little tips and tricks along the way that I hope will be food for thought so that you can start to think about or consider your own gut and the role that it is playing in your current life and where you would like to go. I'm going to start by saying that everything with your gut and with your body and with your mind is deeply interconnected. In fact, there is nothing at all that operates in isolation when it comes to the body or the mind. For a very long time, we have been raised to think of these aspects of health as completely separate from one another, but we now know scientifically that they are so interwoven that they practically can't be separated. However, we can still do things for those individual aspects of our well-being on a day-to-day basis that shift the needle. And I encourage you to start looking at your health and your life in a more holistic fashion. It's my experience that most of the women that actually address their life in a slightly more holistic way, particularly as they age, get the better quality of life, which they so richly and rightly deserve. Everything from your output at work or in your business, how you relate to other people, your communication skills and relationships, your financial health and everything else that you can possibly imagine actually comes down to the quality of your life. And your quality of life is determined by your well-being. And your gut health plays a really central role in that, probably more so than you may imagine. So let's go from the top with a few things that you might need to be aware of. Your gut has this wonderful thing called the microbiome. And the microbiome, or what is referred to as the second brain of the body, consists of a whole range of different types of bacteria that are existing to help your gut to function really, really well. There's good bacteria and of course there's bad bacteria. And your immune system, which is largely located in your gut, is part of that whole process of working out how your gut is going to work and which bacteria get to be at the forefront and which ones get to be fought off. In addition to that, your microbiome is also connected to your neurotransmitter release. These are the chemicals or the chemical highway that exists in your body that shifts everything from your mood to your energy levels, your cognitive ability and your memory, your immune system, your digestive function, your detox ability, pain, endurance, communication. The whole lot is all very much interlinked into your microbiome. In addition to that, there's a few things that are actually happening in terms of production inside your gut that are worth being aware of as well. Up to 85% of your serotonin, which is your happy hormone, is produced inside your gut. And while we call it your happy hormone, it does so much more than actually just produce happiness in the brain. It's part of the signaling system that your brain uses as it transmits information across your nervous systems to the rest of your body that help to actually shape the very cells that make up your body and therefore the quality of your life. If you have a lack of or too much serotonin production happening in your body, lots of things will become extremely haywire. Ideally, when you consider the fact that your cells are constantly recreating themselves with the information passed on by your nervous systems, again, joined to that microbiome, you can see how it's going to play a really fundamental role in your quality of life to know and understand what is going on inside your gut and make sure that function is at the highest level. So if you've ever experienced things like mood changes, sleep changes, pain being more present or having less resistance to it, all of that could be stemming from something that's happening inside the gut or a lack of nourishment that is properly being carried from the gut across the body. Let's also talk about some other production things. So your gut actually also produces up to 75% of all your immune system. Think about that for a moment. That's huge. So you want to make sure that that is firing and it's firing correctly at all times. No one likes to be spending time sick or feeling lethargic or tired. And again, all of this can be happening with inside the gut. Then we have a look at our brain cells. 100 million brain cells plus are produced inside the gut. And that's part of the reason why it is referred to as the second brain. So much of these terms like brain fog, brain fatigue, memory issues, cognitive dysfunction, personality change, behavioral change are all stemmed to either a lack of regulation or a lack of production of the appropriate amount of brain cells from within the gut. So if you feel that your decision making hasn't been perhaps that great, or you're forgetting things a little bit more, or you feel like it's just not as easy as it used to be to carry one thought through to the next, or think things through clearly and make good decisions, these could all tie into something that is happening inside your gut. I like to imagine the gut like this beautiful little farm. And inside that farm, you have all of these amazing crops, your serotonin, your brain cells, your good bacteria, your immune system. One of your biggest jobs really is to understand that all of this is so fundamental to your quality of life that you need to work out how to appropriately farm and harvest all of those crops, to protect them, to fuel them, to give them what they need, just in the way that you would a crop of carrots or wheat or anything else that you may consume or use. So the question then becomes, how can you do that? And why would you even want to? So I'm going to talk to you for a second about your nervous system, because your nervous system is deeply linked into your gut health. And your nervous system also has a big role to play in your hormones. So for many of us who may be harboring stress or depression, anxiety, insomnia, or just don't have a comfortable process for letting go of things that are not serving us very well, this will have a direct effect on the production and harvesting that is going on inside that lovely farm of yours in the gut. If we think for a moment about fight or flight mode, which comes from our sympathetic nervous system directed by our amygdala or our limbic system, our survival system. This is triggered off when we are in states of stress or states of pain, or we've been holding on to emotion that we haven't let go. In this process, the directive that comes from the brain when this is triggered is to actually empty out the gut. It stops you from being able to digest food. It stops the production of those chemicals like serotonin. It stops the production of your brain cells, and it stops your immune system from being able to function. It sends all of the blood supply out to your extremities, so there is nothing left on the inside of the gut. This is also quite often why you may feel like you have stomach pains or extreme nausea or even a lack of appetite that can go hand in hand with high levels of stress or pain. It is literally so that you will not continue putting things in through the gut, where there is no energy now applied from the brain to be able to break down any food or get resources. So you can imagine if you're in high states of stress repetitively, how much of an influence that is not just going to have on the gut, but then all the other systems that link to your gut. And this is where your hormones play in a really, really big role. Now, as women, we all know that when our hormones are fluctuating and moving all over the place, we have a range of symptoms that come across the body. And this can happen throughout our cycles. and even when we are moving into perimenopause or menopause itself or postmenopause. There are various changes that happen with our hormones, and they will continue to change decade on decade. In fact, they're not just one way until we hit menopause, they continue to fluctuate. When these go up and down, they change what is actually happening inside the gut, and the gut can also change them too. So if you are again in those heightened states of stress, maybe triggered off by hormones, maybe not, it is likely that you're going to have that lack of serotonin, the reduced number of brain cells, which is going to make you feel like you can't really make decisions when you're in that heightened state of hormonal health. You're going to see some things appear on your skin, maybe not just acne, but even things like rashes, inflammation. You can manifest into joint pain, migraines, changes in your blood pressure, dizziness, appetite. It can actually stimulate a release of neurotransmitters like adrenaline and cortisol, which are commonly triggered during stressful periods or during pain or even through exercise. And again, excessive amounts of these will continue to disable the function of the gut. These are triggered again by the brain being stimulated. There's something going on. I'm too stressed, or I'm not being nourished correctly. Warning systems go up. We must be under stress. We must have to be prepared for fight or flight. So let's empty out. Let's not put anything through the digestive system. We need to run on the resources we have here in this moment. Now, of course, this is something that is not sustainable. But in modern life, we've tried to train ourselves to be sustainable in this mode over and over again. And that's really, really unrealistic. So often we become really focused on things around the gut that don't play as big a role as what we think as women. We are marketed to constantly to be focused on fat, weight loss, calories. Now, for certain types of conditions, yes, we must be aware of these things. But very often these are more symptomatic of a larger problem. And often this is related directly to our gut health. And even changes in our hormones we may experience that seem to have no explanation when we go and seek help from a gynecologist or some kind of women's health specialist come down to the gut as well. So one surefire way that you can work out whether or not your gut health is at optimal level is to begin a process of tracking. And I actually recommend that everybody do this at least a few times in their life for a few weeks at a time for each stint. You'll be amazed at how important your gut health is when you recognize the difference between where you are now and where you will be after a couple of very small tweaks. We're not talking big stuff, we're talking little stuff. So here's my recommendation for you. Even if right now you feel totally fine and like your gut health is at optimal level, why not check it out and see if there's something more that you can do to continue improving the quality of your life. Take a notepad and pen or a Word document, whatever suits you the best. Schedule it out like a 7-day-a-week type format and break it down into sections of the day. It could be something as simple as breakfast, lunch and dinner, or morning, noon and night. And list in there the foods that you're eating, the drinks that you're consuming, the activities that you're doing, and the way that you're feeling mentally and emotionally. Be as detailed as you possibly can. The easiest way to stick to doing this daily is to place that notepad by your bed and have it be the very last thing you do right before you climb into the sheets to have a restful night's sleep. It'll take you about 5 minutes, and it's like doing a big brain dump. This is also very cathartic and positive for your mental health, to get a whole bunch of stuff out before you enter that relaxing state. So you might put in things as detailed as this. I had oatmeal for breakfast with almond milk. I did a poo and I felt really nauseous afterwards. Then my stomach felt kind of acidic. I was a little bit moody and I felt tired. Then I had lunch. I had a salad, and the salad had tomato and rocket and feta cheese. And then I had 2 glasses of water and a cup of coffee. I felt really, really wired up, so I went for a walk. And during the walk, I was thinking about X, Y, and Z. And this is how I felt emotionally after that. Here are what my feelings are in terms of my fatigue. And you do that throughout the day, okay? So you're going into as much detail as you possibly can. Write it down every day. What you will find is that over a process of a few weeks of doing this, without even making any tweaks, by the way, to your plan at that point, you will be able to actually reflect back week on week and find very clear patterns of behavior, of thought, and physical reactions that often lead to simple tweaks that you can make that improve each and every one of them. Your body is constantly communicating with you, as is your mind, and these things that can seem like random, totally disconnected events, things like a migraine or a headache, a rash, the tightness in your chest on one particular day, a bad mood or a lack of energy for half an hour, all of these things can actually often be signals of a pattern of something that is going on in your life, and it's that we don't take the time to recognize that this is a language. When you do take the time, however, your body is very clearly telling you quite often what it needs. It could be something like that the food that you're doing, while very nutritious, is timed incorrectly. Maybe you need a little more protein at breakfast time rather than at lunchtime. Maybe that's what suits your body best. Perhaps you have an intolerance to a food that you weren't even aware of. Maybe it's that you need to introduce a little bit more water drinking earlier in the day. Or even that the type of exercise that you're doing may be better suited to 11 a.m. rather than 6 p.m. in the evening. All of these kinds of things can become apparent just from the process of tracking. And from there, it's a case of just tweaking one little thing at a time. Now, if you think of your health as a really, really big puzzle, and if you've ever built a big jigsaw puzzle, either in person or a digital one, sometimes there's that point where you're stuck and you just don't really know what the next piece is. Suddenly, by looking at things slightly differently, you'll notice that there is that one little piece that seems to match that colour up in the top right corner, and you connect that piece together. And once that piece is connected, suddenly all these other pieces that seemingly didn't seem like they had any connection to the jigsaw puzzle at all fall into place, and you can see how that whole picture connects. So think of this like you are looking for that one piece of the puzzle. You're only going to start with one bit at a time, one tweak at a time, one tracking at a time. There's no point in putting all these things on your plate only to kind of upset yourself when you don't get it all done. So be realistic as you approach this. But it just takes that one thing, that one pattern, that one little piece of information for everything else to start to unravel. So I'm going to leave you with that as some serious food for thought and some ways that you can approach it. And what my hope for you is that you will recognize that everything inside your body is deeply, deeply connected. Your physical, your mental, and your emotional well-being, which is your wellness, your quality of life, all comes from the same place. So if you're harboring stress or there's something going on inside your body, don't think of it as a random and disconnected incident, but as part of the same picture, as a language in which your body is trying to communicate to you with. And it is absolutely worth spending the time to investigate what is going on with your gut health, because it is at the root of so much of what you are experiencing and so much of what you will want to do as you go forward. And the great thing about this tracking tool is that the more that you practice it, the more self-confidence you will have as your body continues to change and evolve as you age and over time. Your body will not stay the same, and the information you may find out now that helps you to tweak things may change in a year or 5 or 10. But you will always have the process to come back to, the ability to track, the ability to understand that it is all connected, and that there's always ways to tweak things. And it's the little tweaks that add up to the profound and monumental changes that are going to shift the needle for you in your career, in your business, in your personal life, in absolutely every aspect of your well-being. And you deserve the quality of life and well-being that you desire. So don't pay as much attention to cultural well-being, to what the world is projecting as the way you're supposed to look and the way you're supposed to feel and all of these things. Remember that you are an individual with your own genetics and your own background. Use your time at whatever age you're at now to invest in yourself and to work out what it is that your body is trying to tell you and how to get the best out of it. It's not about anybody else, it's about you. This whole process is like giving yourself one big, long hug. The hug that you've probably been waiting for. And it's always going to come better from personal inside validation than from anything outside of you. So take that time to invest in you, and you'll see that as you look and target your gut health and make improvements, that could be as simple as doing a different kind of exercise to reduce the amount of cortisol that is being released in the gut as you exercise, or reducing the amount that you consume of a particular food because it seems to be draining your energy, or promoting a different kind of nutrient that you can consume because it makes you feel mentally better. Whether it's learning how to meditate and deep breathe so that you can reduce stress because stress triggers your fight or flight mode, disabling your gut from doing its job. Whatever it is, whatever that piece of the puzzle is that unravels the rest and makes it click for you, is worth discovering. You do not have to stay where you are thinking that the way you are, the quality of life you have is all that you're going to get. There is always ways that you can improve it no matter what life throws at you. Trust me on that one, I know, because my gut directs so much of my life and I know how challenging it can be. But you can create a quality of life and you can thrive. So, as I said, lots of food for thought, and I hope that's provided some context and some information around what the gut does, how it connects, how it influences so many other aspects of the body, and how you can take the time to simply track and work out what's going to move the needle for you. I'd like to thank, of course, Ignite, Mel Tempest and the full Ignite team for having me back to talk about one of my favourite subjects, gut health, and for giving me this opportunity to connect with you. You can reach me, of course, via the Ignite platform or on social media, and I will, of course, include my website details at the end of this presentation, so you can reach out should you have any questions or if I can be of any assistance to you. But I know you've got this. So, go enjoy your quality of life by creating it and tune into your gut. It's telling you everything you need to know. I'll see you next time on the next Ignite presentation. I wish you nothing but wellness. See you then.